Hello, I'm Christine White, and welcome to our segment of He's at the Table. Today, DeVon Franklin is at the table. He is an award-winning film and TV producer, New York Times best-selling author, and an international speaker. DeVon, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. Glad to be here.
I'm excited to get into this cold piece of work.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk about it.
The Truth About Men, where he candidly discusses issues that men just don't really ever talk about.
Wow.
I have a little question about what really made you want to write this book, because as I started to read it, I was like, it's about lust. Okay, I can deal with that. But then as I got more deeper into the book, I was like, this is about healing. This is about culture. This is about how we define manhood. What prompted you to write this?
Yeah, you know, two things prompted me to write it. One, I don't think that we as men know how to love. And I think that love is fundamentally the answer to the challenges we're facing in the culture and the community right now. And so I really wanted to take this on, you know, as a manual to show us as men, here's how we love ourselves. Here's how we love the women in our lives. Here's how we love our families. Here's how we lead with love, because so often we don't. And when we don't lead with love, we can never become the men that we were created to be. So love was really one of the primary drivers that made me want to write the book. The other one is pain. So often, you know, there's so much pain in the lives of women because of us as men and what we've done. And I just wanted to write a book that could help alleviate the pain, to give women hope and also to give men hope, because there are a lot of men out there that feel hopeless because there are no models of manhood. You know, when men are subscribing to what the culture says, this is what it means to be a man, and they find that ultimately it's really not fulfilling. There's all these feelings, thoughts, urges we don't even have the place to talk about. So a lot of men are in a different form of pain, and sometimes as a result inflict pain. Now that's not a means to excuse that behavior by any means at all. It's just, well, where does it come from? So I really wanted to articulate where it comes from as a way to figure out how do we resolve this. So those were the reasons why I wanted to write this book, for love and pain. And I do believe that love can help, you know, reduce the pain, but we got to get back to loving and learning how to do that and what that means, because I think it's a word that's kind of thrown around, but very few of us know how to do it, especially when it comes to us as men.
Well, you said something that was interesting. We talked about lust and lustful urges, and you analogized lust to the dog. Which is kind of, you know, we're used to talking about men being dogs. We say that all the time, although it's not really the best characterization for who men are in totality. So tell me why you use this analogy, lust and a dog. Yeah,
because, you know, what prevents us from loving? There's lust. Lust is usually the main obstacle to love. Every man has love and lust in them. I describe lust as a selfish impulse for personal, professional, financial, or sexual fulfillment by any means necessary, even if those means are detrimental. So, you know, lust is selfish. Lust wants what it wants, whenever it wants it, however it wants it, whereas love is selfless. You know, love of themselves, love of God, love of the woman in our life, love of family, love of community. So when we put love in control of lust, we can become the men we were called to be. But when we allow lust to run and then ruin our life, we become what that lust makes us. So I use the dog analogy as a way, because everyone says, oh, men are dogs. And I answer that question up front, men are not dogs. But I use this analogy to turn it on its head, because it's so important to understand our behavior. Why do we do what we do? And what can be done about it? And so when you see a man give themselves over to lust, I call that the dog. And I call love in a man the master. So when men learn to master the dog, when they learn to lead with love, they can conquer this lust, which really will destroy our lives. Why do you see men act outside of their character, integrity? Why do men step out of their marriage or their relationship? It's because that dog is running their life. Those decisions, those urges, those feelings, that selfishness for selfish fulfillment is their #1 priority. And whenever it's the #1 priority, it is going to make that man become what that lust wants that man to be versus that love. And so I wanted to use that analogy to articulate, here's the problem, but also point towards solutions. So the metaphor, as you know in the book, it plays itself out so that there are tips and tools, because sometimes it's hard to understand these concepts, love and lust. So I wanted to use mastering the dog as a way for people to say, oh, I get it.
Right.
Got it. And I talk about in the book, no matter how cute a dog is, if it's untrained, it's a nuisance to itself and everyone it comes in contact with. Why? Because it's very destructive. It has no discipline, has no self-control. It wants pleasure for pleasure's sake. So when we as men, want those same things, we can behave in a similar way. So it's a way not to demonize or vilify men, but it's an analogy to help us understand the process of how we learn how to love.
Well, DeVon, I've never heard anybody talk about this. Like, I know that all the men in my life have been coached from cradle to boardroom on everything from how to be a better athlete or how to make more money, how to be a better person. Men are always coaching each other. It's a part of the culture, right?
Sure.
But we don't talk about, or I don't know, or haven't heard, where men are talking about how to coach each other on how to be less filled with lust and to lead with love. Like, it's not something even in the church where we really should be talking about it.
Right.
You say in the book, we're not talking about it. Why is it such a hard topic to talk about?
Because it's taboo. It's taboo. I mean, no one wants to admit lustful desires or thoughts or feelings. So a lot of times it goes suppressed. And I talk about this in the book, that anything we suppress, we empower. Anything that we're in denial about, we actually empower to destroy us. And so this idea, for me, we have seen so much of an overemphasis, especially when it comes to men, on men's public success, that it's come at the expense of men learning how to be personally successful. And to me, that's the real barometer of success.
Right.
It's not about what happens in the public. If we're successful personally, whatever happens there will mirror in the public. But sometimes when we focus only on the public, we do it at the expense of doing the discipline and the self-control needed to be successful personally. So in the book, I say, let's redefine success. First of all, I believe success is peace. Second of all, I believe real success is
real.
It's peace.
Yes.
Because it's not money, it's not fame, it's not promotion. Those are all external things. Peace is an internal thing.
Right.
So I believe when I'm peaceful, I'm successful.
Yeah.
And as a man, we aren't taught that. We're taught go conquer the world. There's so many books written about how to dominate business and dominate.
How to be rich. That's really what we focus on.
How to be successful and all that.
Right.
And I say, listen, all those things have their place. But what about the man that goes home? How do we be successful with the one that looks back at us in the mirror? And so this is why I really wanted to talk about this, because this is the area where we fail the most.
Yeah.
Why can we not become personally successful? Because we don't lead with love, we lead with lust. Because we don't master the dog masters us. And we're not talking about it because, first of all, it's a taboo subject to mention. Second of all, there's very few places you can go to really get help. Third of all, we live in a culture of suppression. And a lot of times if a man says, hey, you know what, I'm dealing with these lustful thoughts or desires, or I'm dealing with the dog, that man will be vilified, or what's wrong with you, or how could you? So most men just don't talk.
Right.
They just act like, oh, well, it doesn't exist. But we know that it does, because our families are being torn apart. Our communities are being ripped apart because there's no discipline around this issue and there's not enough conversation. So I just want to start a conversation. I don't have all the answers. This book points towards some of the answers. There's a whole lot more answers to do. This is only one book. There's a whole lot more we can do, but I just wanted to do this as a catalyst to start the process of change, because if we don't change, I am very afraid for our future.
Well, I will say, I hear men all the time say, are we supposed to be monogamous? And you say this in the book. Like, this is a question among humans. Are we supposed to be monogamous? And what I really hear men saying is, that thing sounds too hard. That can't be natural. It's too hard to be monogamous. You have an answer for that.
Yeah, I do. I have an answer, which is, I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not a sociologist, so I don't go very deep into areas that I'm not qualified to really speak on. However, from the research that I've been able to do, that we are at a time, in the history of the earth where we have the ability to adapt to changes, even if they may be against our nature.
Yeah.
So whether or not, polygamy or monogamy is a part of our nature, that's going to be debated and has been debated since the beginning of time. However, we are at a place now that if we choose to be monogamous, we can actually adapt to that monogamous choice and honor it. I think the danger is that if somebody fundamentally does not believe, a man does not believe that he is monogamous, It's really important to not then engage in monogamous behavior with women and then spring your polygamous view on them deep into the relationship when they are already so emotionally invested.
Say that again.
You know, I mean, listen, if you don't believe that you're meant to be monogamous, just say so.
10 months in, by the way.
That's by the way.
By the way.
By the way.
You know, we really can't do this one-on-one.
Right. And then what happens is, you know, that by that time the woman is so invested, you know, it's so much time, so much of her heart, she's fallen in love, and then this man springs this idea on her, and it's like, well, what do I do? You know, I don't want to lose him. I don't want him to leave. Do I then compromise my morals and values and allow someone into the situation? I just say, let's just be honest up front. If you don't believe that you are, say it.
Yeah.
And if you have struggles doing it, say that.
Yeah.
This is why our relationships are not working. This is why our marriages are not working. This is why our families are not working. Because men have this struggle. They want to be monogamous. They're having some struggles in that area. They don't bring it to their partner. They hide it. They suppress it. Then what happens? We suppress it, and it comes out in a more destructive way. Mm-hmm. And you find yourself doing things that you say, well, how did I get there? Because you're not talking.
Yeah.
We're not communicating. And so I really wanted to write this book to kind of say it's okay to communicate. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be honest that we struggle. It's okay to say, I'm not sure how to deal with this. It's better to do that than to suffer in private and in silence, and you end up doing something that's far more destructive than just having a conversation.
This is a man's world. This is a man's